here on the computer. In the meantime, I'll play what I'm going to play. I'm just going to play some Lego Star Wars and play some lore videos for everyone to enjoy.
Today I thought I'd begin a series of, let's say, portfolios, examining some of the great ancient Sith Lords that existed millennia before Vader and Palpatine. And I thought who else to begin this series with, but the very first Sith Lord, Ajunta Pall. Ajunta Pall was a human male. He was a Jedi during a time when the Order was just surviving its first truly existential crisis, which would come to be known as the First Great Schism. It had resulted from a split between those who followed the more traditional practices of the Force and another group of Jedi that had begun to study alternative methods of utilizing it. Eventually, the crisis would lead to a war, which the Jedi won.
I got all maps unlocked, finally, at least.
Ajunta was born after this and was strong in the Force, progressing through his training within the Order, until he eventually achieved the rank of Jedi Master. There, he began to study the mysterious art
What's up,
of
Keith?
alchemy, and soon through his rigorous research uncovered the secrets of creating and shaping life itself. Appalled by the power Ajunta had unveiled, the Jedi High Council deemed it to be an abhorrence to the Force and forbid its practice, barring Ajunta from teaching it to his followers. Angered by what he perceived to be the arrogance of the Council, Ajunta, with his many followers, declared war on the Jedi Order, initiating the Second Great Schism. This started a century-long conflict that would be known as the 100-Year Darkness, which I'm going to cover in another video. Towards the end of the conflict, the now titled High General Ajunta Pall slaughtered more than a dozen Jedi during the final battle of the war on the Outer Rim planet.
Listen to all the good stuff.
I hate commercials. Lord have mercy.
Follow their journey. Go behind the scenes.
Korbos, near the Yavin system. However, despite his and his Dark Jedi disciples' obvious power, the Jedi were triumphant. Defeated and captured, Ajunta and his forces were stripped of their ranks and weapons, then sent into exile outside of Republic space. These exiles
Right now, I don't got the comment section open. Give me 1 minute.
Place to live, until they eventually came upon a remote and foreboding desert world in the Outer Rim. This place was called
Just
Korriban,
messing around.
where
Oh,
not
okay.
only could they survive on, but the planet also hosted a relatively primitive, Force-sensitive, red-skinned species called the Sith. Ajunta and his Dark Jedi were intrigued by these natives' creative use of the Force. Initially, the Sith inhabitants did not take well to exiles intruding on their world. So, their king, Hakagram Grouch, attempted to resist the Dark Jedi's efforts at conquering his people, while also trying to crush their desires at reaping his species' secret knowledge of the Force. However, Ajunta was able to convince the king's second-in-command, known as the Shadow Hand, to switch sides and join him. Betrayed, the king soon fell to his own war sword in the hands of Ajunta. Afterwards, in awe of the skill and power Ajunta and his Dark Jedi had demonstrated,
Oh, you started a fresh
as well
game?
as being
Okay.
impressed with the advanced technology, the Sith species quickly began
That's always fun to go
worship the
back and
exiles.
use the stuff you messed with when the game is fresh, but you got all
Now,
your
the
new game
subjects of
stuff.
Ajunta, the Sith, revered him as the Gen Ari, which translates to Dark Lord. Ajunta Pall, former Jedi Master, former High General, was now the first Dark Lord of the Sith in existence. He soon founded the
There we
first
go.
Sith Empire, which he expanded beyond Korriban to other worlds, including the Dark Forest planet Ziost, where he set up his capital and made his new home. After many decades,
It says
the first
I got
Sith Lord
15
had been
comments, but I only see
but his
4.
empire lived on without
What the
him.
hell?
His body was returned to Korriban and placed within a massive tomb, in what would one day be known as the Valley of the Dark Lords. Though his body was dead, his expansive knowledge of alchemy that the Jedi had forbidden allowed him to attach his spirit to the physical world, and so his essence remained persistent within his tomb for centuries. During this time, he studied the Sith Lords that came
Oh, you did?
and saw how
Sweet.
each time their ultimate downfall
I'm
was
gonna do the
completely
same when I
in
pick
hand
up playing it again, because, you know, I'm
and
playing
so
Lego Star
each time
Wars.
he began to examine his choices and actions that he made when he was alive. During the Jedi Civil War, millennia after his death, a Jedi Knight undercover as a Sith apprentice named Revan entered Ajunta's tomb to retrieve the Sith Lord's sword. Now, on a side note, this had belonged to King Hakagram Grouch's originally, and it was buried along with Ajunta. Revan needed access to an ancient artifact called the Star Map, and in order to do so, he Sith Academy on Korriban. And so
It says I have more comments, but from where?
Dark Lord of the Sith give him that
It's not matching up on my screen versus my actual chat log.
the Jedi and spoke of his disappointment and shame.
Let me check through the mobile. Let me pause the lore video real quick. Okay, there's nothing new there, so what the fuck?
He no longer blamed the Jedi for the destruction the Sith Order had regularly met after the 100 Year Darkness. No, Ajunta saw that the Sith's hunger for power always led them to destroy each other, and he felt nothing but remorse for his hand in creating their order. Revan took the sword and then convinced Ajunta's spirit to cast aside.
I did. It is on live chat. Trust me.
Letting go of all of his hate.
That's how I always keep it.
Finding peace at long last. So, like the last Sith Lord, well, until episode 9 at least, Darth Vader.
Wow.
First was also
So many comments just re-popped. I refreshed my page. I was confused for a second. I'm like, what the hell?
More about Ajunta's reasonings for going as extreme as he did. I guess, he just didn't like the way the Jedi ran things. But at least Anakin was kind of just cornered into it because he wanted to save Padme. Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? Today we return to the Legends novel, Darth Bane, The Path of Destruction. We're going to be looking at pages 208 to 210, chapter 20, where Bane takes the title of Darth. Now, I'm jumping really far into the novel here, primarily because I want to get you guys really interested.
Garrett, no need to spam the same comment.
Legends, to really help you guys understand how cool Legends actually is, and where a lot of the lore for canon really
I don't want the
from.
comments
So if you
being
find yourself
over,
interested in the
like,
lore in this
spam,
video,
so...
it's pretty interesting, bringing a lot of new faces. I implore you to go check out some of the other lore videos that are out there, not just on my channel, but anywhere really on
I'm
YouTube.
sorry.
They're all very interesting, and I think we can learn a lot from the inspiration that came to canon today. That being said, I'm going to be covering so much more of the Darth Bane novel and continuing my novelization coverage of Legends and going forward. So at this point in the novel, Bane has crossed a threshold into a new understanding and connection with the dark side. He has just walked away victorious from a trap set by his former rival, Sirak. Now we're going to learn a ton more about Sirak in more videos, which are going to backtrack from this one, and then we'll go beyond chapter 20 as well. He is now done with the Sith Academy and its instructors permanently and finally ready to break out of his own, away from Lord Khan and his Brotherhood of Darkness. As he storms furiously to the Academy's headmaster, Lord
Almost
Cordis'
got enough
orders,
for us 6
there remains
times.
only one last step for Bane to take, a dangerous and forbidden step. Bane kicked open the door to Cordis' chamber. It slammed against the wall with a crash that reverberated down the hall. The Academy's master had been awake and already dressed, meditating on the mat in the center of his room. Now, he leapt to his feet, anger darkening his face. What is the meaning of this? Did you send Sirak to kill me? Bane blurted out. The time for subtlety is gone. What? Did something happen to Sirak? Kill them. Yevra and Lokay too. Their bodies are in the archives. The shock and horror of his reaction made it clear that Cordis had known nothing about the attack. You did this on the eve of our departure for Rusan? He asked, his voice rising shrilly. A few of the other masters had gathered in the corridor outside, drawn by Bane's loud arrival. A handful of the students as well. Bane didn't care. You can go to Rusan, Bane snapped. I will have nothing to do with the Brotherhood of Darkness. You are a student of this academy, Cordis reminded him. You will do as you're told. I am a Dark Lord of the Sith, Bane countered. I serve no one but myself. Glancing over Bane's shoulder at the gathering crowd of curious onlookers, Cordis dropped his voice to a threatening whisper. We leave for Rusan tomorrow, Lord Bane. You will be coming with us. This is not a matter for discussion. I am leaving tonight, Bane replied, lowering his voice to match and mock the tone of Cordis' own, and none of you here is strong enough to stop me. He turned his back on the head of the academy and walked slowly from the room. For a brief second, he felt the spurned master gathering the force, and Bane braced himself for a confrontation. But a second later, he felt the power fading away. At the threshold, he halted.
They're eventually going to add custom creation to this game, I found out, so I can't wait to play that, because I do like, that's the only thing that's missing from me with this game.
Rivalry among the Sith. It gave the Jedi an easy target. It was easier just to abandon the custom, to have all the Sith Masters use the same title of Darth Lord. He raised his voice slightly, speaking loud enough for all to hear. But I know the truth, Cordis. I know why none of you claims that name for yourself. Fear. You're cowards. He half turned and looked back at Cordis. None of the Brotherhood is worthy of the Darth title. Least
I
of all
know
you.
that everyone
There
is
was a
celebrating
gasp
that we
from the
destroyed the
assemblage.
Death Star, but our
Some of
mission
the students
isn't
stepped
over.
back,
The
expecting some
Empire
type
still
of
have the plans,
reaction.
and we'll let them
Of
build
course,
another.
there was none. Shaking his head in disgust, Bane left them there.
Those
As he
plans,
passed the
they'll
other
just keep
masters,
churning out Death
Cassin
Star
stepped
after
in
Death
front
Star.
of him, placing a hand on his
Luckily,
chest.
our
Don't
sources
go.
discovered
The
where
Blade
they're being
Master said,
kept.
let's
We
talk
just need
about
a dashing
this.
hero
You
to
just
steal
meet me
them.
with calm. You'll understand.
The plans are in the
That's all
office
I
of
ask,
Grand
Bane.
Moff Tarkin
It's
in Coruscant's
Darth
Federal District.
Bane.
Look
He
out for
said,
Imperial activity
slapping
around the Senate
Twi'lek's
building.
hand away and
That should
pushing
be...
past him. Nobody else tried to stop him as he made his way through the temple's halls. Nobody tried to follow him or even called out as he mounted the stairs to the small landing pad on the roof. There was only a single ship at the starport, the Valsen, a T-class long-range personal cruiser. The blade-shaped vessel was one of the finest in the Sith fleet, equipped with the latest and most advanced technology. It had arrived just the day before, a gift from Khan to Cordis, in recognition of his work with the apprentices at the academy. Bane lowered the access hatch and climbed inside. During his stint in the military,
I like that I have a Star
immense
Destroyer.
training in the basics of piloting a standard hyperdrive vessel. Fortunately, the Valsen's controls matched all intergalactic standards of operation and were designed for ease of use. He sat himself down in the pilot's chair and fired up the thrusters, punching in the hyperspace coordinates of his destination even as he began the liftoff sequence. A moment later, the Valsen rose up from the landing pad's surface and shot off into the atmosphere, leaving Korriban and the Academy behind. Now this last step was Bane taking the Dark title, an action that can only be seen as a direct challenge to Lord Khan's rule. To revive that title and the meaning of superiority it invokes spits at everything the Brotherhood of Darkness stands for. But regardless, whatever else happens, the Sith, the Jedi, and the galaxy will now have to grapple with Darth Bane, Dark Lord of the Sith. Now, of course, Bane goes on to create the rule of the
That
two,
sounds... I understand
the
it.
history of the Sith, or the future of the Sith, really. I would say the main problem with the Sith was the infighting. Of course, they all came together and eventually they hated Jedi at the end of the day, but amongst themselves, there were tiers and classes, just like with Jedi. But it was more of a dog.
No, it's just because I had a different tab open on my computer, and I was paying attention to that, so I didn't see the comments. That's why I tried to finish fast and come back.
And by Bane taking that title, it means he doesn't care if it promotes rivalry among the Sith or whatever people think. He wanted to use the title for himself.
I was trying to reply to
stand out
both.
from everyone else who just called themselves Dark Lords. I like Bane. I like his methodology and the way that he's just overall badass. He does what he wants, and he stands up to those who will defy him. Don't get me wrong, he's a Sith, but he's pretty cool. Hope someday we'll get a show just about him. You guys, how's it going?
How has
My
this
name's
happened?
Wade Goodall, and I'm just a server. I've always loved animation, always wanted to give it a go.
Tarkin
I
will be
instantly
outraged.
thought of this poem
Someone
that I found in my
it's
daughter's
called
nature
Grand
journal.
Moff.
On the flowers on the trees come the little bumblebees.
If we all inspire each other to do a little bit, start living in a slightly different way, that is so much better.
Oh, look.
Today we're going to go over an excerpt from Drew Karpshin's Darth Bane novel. Now this book is one of my favorite Star Wars books to ever exist. I'd say this and the Plagueis novel are probably my top two of all time. Now, this book in general gives us an entire backstory on Darth Bane himself, from the beginning of his life to, well, the end of this novel.
What is that? Get away from me!
Spoilers, where he gets an apprentice of his own, Darth Bane, or also known as Revan. Throughout this novel, Bane is extremely gifted.
Help me!
Powerful, but he's not as experienced of a
Thank you.
fighter or force
Things were
user
dangerously
as
close to getting
others.
gross
In
there.
fact, he didn't even know what the Force was. He was just kind of stumbling upon it one day. He just kind of used it his whole life, but he didn't know what this really was.
The Empire
His
gets
gift
a bad
was.
rap
So
they may
fast
promote.
forward
I
pretty much all to near the end of the novel. There are these guys called the Brotherhood of Darkness, and these are the Sith. These are the bad guys, so to speak. And the Brotherhood of Darkness is led by a guy named
Where's the thief? He's supposed to be here, isn't he?
He felt like the Brotherhood
Do I gotta go somewhere?
together. No one uses the
To the north, a landing pad. Oh shit.
On the way. Of darkness. To use the title Darth would be an extreme insult. Not only that, using the title Darth is very dangerous.
Why? I don't know.
Then on your own, and you're not part of the Brotherhood of Darkness. And dangerous, mind you, not just for the one who claimed to be Darth, but also for the Brotherhood of Darkness. Because usually the Darth was much more powerful and wasn't confined within the Brotherhood of Darkness's rules or what they know or what they don't know. So Bane claims himself the title Darth, essentially insulting Khan and completely segregating himself from the Brotherhood of Darkness, saying, you know what, this crap isn't for me. I'm going to do this. I'm a Darth. I'm going to show you guys. Now, a planet that Bane had researched in the archives revealed that it was very full of dark side energy. So Bane headed to it,
Stay back!
landing on this
My brother's a Jedi! Well, he proves a Jedi!
Now, instead of killing the Rancor,
Go away!
mind control, kind of like Anakin does with the Leak in Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones on the Battle of Geonosis, where he controls it and he actually starts to ride it. So he made his way over to the temple, an extremely ancient temple, a temple that belonged to the long extinct but powerful and technological.
Search for the thief in the Federal District.
Now you guys might remember the topic of the Mikado species in different comic series, and also when The Mandalorian Season 2 came out, I briefly did touch on them. When Mando took Grogu
Hey,
to
Bub, you don't happen to know the way to the nearest landing pad, do you? What's that look for? Now, what's that look for?
The Thor on Titan. And if you don't know the story, essentially the Thor, there were 7 of them, and they all went to different parts of the galaxy. They invited different kinds of species and civilizations on board, and then they all collectively came together on Titan. Deposited the species of people, deposited all of them on different parts of the planet, and eventually only the ones that were force sensitive were allowed to stay on the planet, and then the rest of them were exiled. Now then, later on, the Mikado came in, and so on and so forth, but they were this very technologically advanced organic technology. They were extremely ruthless and friendly. So this
How do you like these plans?
Shit.
so Bane walks in. But I will recite the part where he does see Revan all along. What the type of dog is. This is really where the book starts.
You know,
to take
sometimes
the
I
title
have to
Dog.
Let's see what this button does.
Shit. How do I stop it?
Things like the Guardians of the Holocron, the infinite personalities,
Wait.
alien creatures from a time even before the birth of
Take
the
this.
Republic. And if so, they teach me the secrets.
Did I really just do that? There we go.
Setting the Holocron
Damn, I
on the
missed.
floor, then sat down in front of it, crossed his legs, and slow breathing. He gathered and focused his energy, and he projected a wave of
This
dark side
wasn't-
energy
oh.
over the holocron on the floor. And this is when the holocron begins to sparkle, shimmer, in response to this dark side energy that's flowing through. Bane holds his breath in anticipation, unsure what would come next.
What's up, Chase? Or disciple.
Scattered and diffused, it began to shift and spin, coalescing into a cloaked figure, its features completely hidden by the hood of its heavy robe. So this right here is Darth Revan. This is an ancient holocron of him speaking, and this is what he says. As a deep voice, bristling clear broke out, I am Darth Revan, Dark Lord of the Sith. The empty halls of the temple above trembled with the reverberations of Bane's triumphant laughter. Now, Bane's laughing because he's thinking, well, you know, I've pretty much learned all of the temple's teachings in a single holocron. So as he continued to listen to this holocron, to what Revan was saying about the ancient Sith and the rituals and so on and so forth, he started to really understand what he just stumbled across. The amount of potential that he was sitting in front of. And he came to learn that even some of the rituals were so freaking dangerous, even for a true Sith master, that he doubted that he would dare use them. And this is Bane. Bane was extremely gifted and extremely powerful. You know that saying, you know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard? Bane was the talent and he was the hard work. Then the book goes on to say, and there was far more than just the ancient practices of dark-side sorcery stored inside the holocron. In only a few short weeks, he learned more of the true nature of the dark side than he had all his days of war. and soon all his knowledge, his understanding of the dark side, will belong to Bane. And so this is really where Bane starts to transcend his learnings and his findings. And this is something the Brotherhood of Darkness would never have done. Any member of the Brotherhood wouldn't go off on some unknown planet to some unknown temple by the Rakata and learn from the holocron that
the least I could do after the whole
inside
Hyrule
and
thing.
explaining all of these ancient and dangerous Sith rituals and different kinds of powers that you can manifest if you study them by knowing these kind of things.
Well, the
So
Empire
this is
won't be
basically
producing any more
stumbling
Death
upon the
Stars
restricted
without
section
these.
that Anakin wanted access to so that he could save Padme from dying. And yeah, that's partially one of the reasons why he wanted to become a master.
Now that the plans are in our hands, you're welcome to use.
Sadly, that section is those who become master. This is also kind of like the restricted section in Harry Potter when Harry goes down there. And
I unlocked the Death Star.
something else beyond just learning new techniques and things like that. For Bane here is that he
Oh shit, I can buy the Death Star. Give me a second. I will buy that.
Really, theoretically, I guess we could even say that Revan at one point was a master of Darth Bane. Just, you know, it wasn't reciprocated, of course, because Revan was dead and he just holocroned them. So essentially, Bane's order was created and molded from Revan's Sith past, from a forgotten past. And this transcends all the way towards Palpatine, because Bane's rule of two, while it is said as Bane's rule of two, but it really came from Revan. This is where he got it from this holocron right here. And so, even with all of these things that Bane learned, eventually, what?
I'm not gonna lie. Pretty exhausted. I started Mudwater in May of 2018, and this is our first product. It's a coffee alternative. I was addicted to caffeine, and I needed to make a shift. And people have really responded. In just over 3 years, we've shipped out over 1 million orders. It's been exhilarating. But the stress can be kind of overwhelming. Until recently, our office was literally just my house. And I have a tough time giving myself permission to rest.
God damn.
But what I am trying to say
I had to go to the bathroom too.
Rule of Two began and started with Revan. It got broken up in between somewhere there, and, you know, Han's Brotherhood of Darkness junk flowed in and messed everything up. Not really messed everything up.
Come on, give me the weapon. Unless oh yeah, that's right, I gotta go to orbit.
As powerful as it could be, like what Bane is doing here. It's almost kind of like the Brotherhood of Darkness is very similar to the Jedi Order. They have all these rules, they are so confined within their own laws that they create within their own minds, and it really in the end is doing lesser for the galaxy because they're just confining their true potential. And I think this is something that Anakin always saw and was kind of confused about or frustrated with, is that not only are they holding it back, but they're also just confining themselves to these ridiculous dogmatic laws. And once Palpatine
I got the Death Star, yo.
his head a little bit, it's just game over at that point, because it's just a slippery slope going with what Anakin already thinks and perceives about the Jedi Order. So I can really understand a lot of the points of views of the so-called villainous characters. Now, mind you, the things Anakin did were disgusting and terrible, but what he had to do was do those things so that he could learn the power to save Padme, and that was the whole point of it. He didn't want to do any of those things. Palpatine said in Revenge of the Sith, only then will he be strong enough in the dark side. Do what must be done. Do not hesitate. Show no mercy. And only then will you be able to save the one that you love. So, for Anakin, he didn't really have much choice. Well, of course, he did have a choice, actually. We all have choices, but he was just making a deal with... The Jedi didn't really
Here we go.
chance. It was just year after year after year of Anakin just completely being ignored. Anyways, I've been over that and did many different
This is
make clear today and to talk about today a little bit is this Darth Bane novel, the first one. It's
I can't believe I actually unlocked the Death Star.
but this one is really amazing, especially the end of the thought like that and how it's described and depicted. The imagery used when the thought learning from Darth Revan, and how the platoon really fundamentally comes from Revan himself. Well, I guess brought back by Bane, but, you know, originally from Revan. Hope you guys enjoyed something like
Oh, I win the circle.
Spotify, Apple iTunes, and Amazon, and of course on StarWarsTheory.com. I will see you all in the next video.
Shit.
Thank you for your time and for watching wherever you are in the galaxy listening to this right now. The Jedi prophecy of the Chosen One foretells of a singular being who will bring balance to the Force by destroying the Sith. The Sith prophecy of the Sithari foretells of a singular perfect being who will lead the Sith, then destroy them, but in doing so, make the Sith more powerful than ever before. The two prophecies are clearly similar, but also connected, and I'm going to get to that later. As some of you are aware, I'm reading the novel Darth Bane, Path of Destruction, which deals very specifically with the prophecy of the Sithari. The Sith Academy on Korriban, where Bane is training to become a Sith
I got a key
Lord
card,
and
but for
Lord
what?
Brotherhood of Darkness, as a Zabrak student named Sirak. He is levels above
As you were, troopers.
Dark Lords in training, including Bane, for the moment at least. Now the future creator
What is this?
has recently murdered a fellow student in the practice ring, but instead of being punished for it, as Bane expected to be,
Get the fuck out of here.
Lord Cordis is pleased because Bane showed great strength in how he executed his rival, a Makurth Sith named Fohark. As he prepares to leave Cordis' dwellings, Bane stops and asks the Sith Lord about the Sith prophecy and whether or not the immensely powerful Sirak could indeed be the perfect being, the Sithari. What is the Sithari? He blurted out. Cordis tilted his head to the side. Where did you hear that word? His voice was grave. I've heard some of the other students use it. About Sirak. They say he could be the Sithari. Some of the old texts speak of the Sithari. Cordis answered slowly, gesturing with a ringed claw at the books scattered about the room. They say the Sith will one day be led by a perfect being, one who embodies the dark side and all we stand for. Sirak is this perfect being. Cordis shrugged. Sirak is the strongest student at the academy for now. Perhaps in time he will surpass Qasim and me and all the other Sith Lords. Perhaps not. He paused. Many of the masters do not believe in the legend of the Sithari. He continued after a moment. Lord Khan discounts it, for one. It goes against the philosophy underlying the Brotherhood of Darkness. What about you, Master? Do you believe in the legend? Bane waited while Cordis considered his reply. It felt like forever. These are dangerous questions to ask, the Dark Lord finally said. But if the Sithari is more than a legend, you will not simply be born as the exemplar of all our teachings. He or she must be forged in the crucibles of
I don't know
trial
where this
and
thing is
battle
supposed to
to
go.
attain such perfection.
Let's see what's the next
Some might
mission.
argue such training is the purpose of this academy, but I would counter by insisting that we train our apprentices to join the ranks of the Sith Lords, so that they may stand alongside Khan and the rest of the Brotherhood. Realizing that this was as good an answer as he was going to get, Bane nodded and left. He had been absolved of his crime, given a pardon because of his power and potential. He should have been exultant.
Wait, I can unlock all the missions now by buying the rumors. Oh shit. Okay, so let me do that, so that means I can give myself stuff to do.
But Bane might be this perfect being. He will go through trials and tribulations and battles, and eventually destroy the Sith, only to rebuild them stronger than ever with his new Sith Order. An order that will last 1,000 years, leading to Sidious and Vader, the Chosen One. So that's what I meant by there is a connection. If Bane was the Sithari, let's say, then his Sith Order goes from the Sithari to the Chosen One. Beings with one prophesized being and ends with the other. Though there's still a part of me, as I think I mentioned before, that wonders if both prophecies are in fact the same. Meaning that perhaps Anakin Skywalker is the Chosen One and the Sithari. Hear me out. I mean, he's always the Chosen One because he turns back to the light. But what about that time in between where he's fully in the dark and he's Darth Vader? And George Lucas has admitted that he is still the Chosen One, even when he's evil. So could this also be reversed? And meant that he could be the Chosen One for the Sith as well, even though he does in the end turn to the light. He spends more time in the dark side, and he does many terrible things that advance the Sith teachings tenfold compared to the Jedi. In fact, he was single-handedly responsible for eradicating the Jedi. He allowed Order 66 to take place. He facilitated in the defeat of the Jedi Temple. He hunted the Jedi for years throughout the galaxy.
Damn, I wonder what these red ones are.
Vader, all the way up until his son sacrificed himself for his father, which brought Anakin Skywalker outside of Vader. Now, George Lucas has always said that Anakin Skywalker is the chosen one, and he always was the chosen one, even when he was in the dark side. Star Wars has always been about him, at least the first 6 movies, the George Lucas saga. Many think that Luke ends up being the chosen one, and I know this is actually alluded to at the end of Rebels. However, Lucas has always said that Anakin was the chosen one, and Luke was merely just the catalyst to bring the chosen one back to fulfill the prophecy full swing. Now, where I can see some people having trouble with this theory of Anakin or Vader possibly being the chosen one for the Sith as well, is that he doesn't really have any hold over Sith. He was never really in charge of them. Sidious was, which probably means that the Sithari was indeed Darth Bane. That being said, it definitely makes you think, what if Anakin didn't burn up? What if he didn't lose to Obi-Wan? What if he didn't let his arrogance get the best of him during that battle? Because I truly do believe that it was Anakin's arrogance that made him lose to Obi-Wan. I think that if it was on a level field, Anakin would have won, eventually. Obi-Wan was much older, and yes, he was the master of Sorsu, which is the master of defense, but Anakin's powers were growing by the minute.
I hate commercials.
His tapping into the dark side was giving him new powers that Anakin had never known, and these were new techniques that Obi-Wan
Oh, I know I had these unlocked already.
when he was fighting Anakin and expecting to get the same sort of combat that they had always trained with. So if Anakin hadn't burned and hadn't gone to his full potential, then I think he would have been the chosen one for the Sith. I think he would have then been the true Sithari, and not Bane, let's say. Let's say Anakin did fulfill what he said to Padme, which was to overthrow the Emperor and to kill him. Sidious knew it was coming, and he expected it. He even admitted it to Yoda that Anakin will become more powerful than either of us. But, of course, once he lost to Obi-Wan, George Lucas said that he only became 80%.
I'm trying to get all my missions unlocked, so give me a moment.
Still extremely strong, but not quite 100, or even 101 to beat him. That and the fact that Sidious made his suit very vulnerable to electricity kept Vader as his obedient slave and dog, up until Vader's death, Anakin's rebirth, and then Anakin's death, fulfilling the prophecy. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it gave you some backstory on Bane, and it made you think a little bit on the Sithari and the Chosen One, and Anakin's role in all of this, just for some fun. Welcome, everyone. It's become a meme now, and part of internet culture.
Yes, Kage? It depends, why? I'm giving everybody Sith lore. You're missing out on some history. That's why I did it too. Right now I'm trying to unlock all these damn side missions. Okay. Work is bad for you today. 'Cause Sam is watching. I don't know, because in the back, I know what it does to you. Every time you hear that name, you feel a vibration in the back of your skull. Okay, close enough. You feel a tingling sensation. Nobody, good thing nobody can hear you, because I'm sure you're on the mobile. Yeah, you guys can't hear it, but Kage is having a hood classic fit at work. I know that, but right now that's not a good time for you. I'm lucky I'm not repeating your shit because everyone's gonna be like, what the fuck is wrong with him? I'll be like this. I don't know. I can't help him. Is there no middle ground? Okay, I can't repeat that now. I'm not gonna get shot for you. Kage is having a... Yes, Keith, you can't hear it. Kage is having a shit fit. It's like Rick and Morty over here with him. Okay, I got all the missions unlocked. You're unable to hear it because he's on the mobile. He feels y'all don't need to hear it. I could beg to differ, but... Okay. Kage will return, possibly online in a few. Try and choose the right ship for this. Damn it. Okay. Okay. To the planet Mustafa.
One of the most iconic scenes in a film full of iconic scenes in The Matrix is when Neo is offered the blue pill and red pills. One to remain in the illusion, and the other to wake to the horrific reality of being a flesh and blood battery for giant machines. Everyone has a bad day once in a while, right? But the reason I bring this up is because I've been going through the old Legends materials as of lately, and I started reading the Star Wars book Darth Bane, Path of Destruction by Drew Karpyshyn.
I unlocked the Death Star. That's awesome. I have it as my own personal battle station.
But in the story,
in Lego form.
How a Cortosis miner named Dessel rose to become Darth Bane, the originator of the Rule of Two. There was a moment where the future Sith Lord faces a very similar choice to Neo. His decision would affect the galaxy for the next 1,000 years, and possibly beyond. Dessel had left the life of a miner, and joined the ranks of the Sith army as a sergeant. After an incident with his squad, the Gloomwalkers, he has come to the attention of the Sith Lords in the Brotherhood of Darkness, which are waging a war across the galaxy with the Jedi's army of light. One of these Sith, a Twi'lek named Copex, offers two paths forward for the young Dessel. Here, we learn how Dessel, or Des, decided to become a Sith and took the derogatory term that his abusive father had always called him in disgust, as his Sith name of Bane. And what do you know of the Jedi? I know they believe themselves to be guardians of the Republic, Des replied.
That'd be funny as hell.
I know they wield great influence in the Senate. I know many believe
I have to find Obsidian.
And the Brotherhood of Darkness. Des considered his words more carefully this time. You are the leaders of our army, and the sworn enemy of the Jedi. We believe that you, like them, have unnatural abilities, but you do not. Des hesitated, struggling to come up with the answer he thought Copex wanted to hear. In the end, he couldn't figure out what his Inquisitor was looking for, so he simply told the truth. I believe most of the stories are greatly exaggerated. Copex nodded, a common enough belief. Those who do not understand the ways of the Force regard such tales as myth or legend, but the Force is real, and those who wield it have
Where's the
power
Obsidian?
imagine. You have seen many battles.
There's gotta be one over here.
The real war. While troops vie for control of worlds and realms, the Jedi and Sith Masters seek to destroy each other. We are being driven toward an inevitable and final confrontation. The faction that survives, Sith or Jedi will determine the fate of the galaxy for the next 1,000 years. True victory in this war will not come through armies, but through the Brotherhood of Darkness. Our greatest weapon is the Force, and those individuals who have the power to command it.
Okay, now I know what to do.
He paused to let his words sink in before continuing. You are special, Des. You have many remarkable talents. These talents are manifestations of the Force, and they have served you well as a soldier. But you have only scratched the surface of your gift.
I don't know, it'd be weird to see.
All around us. You can feel the power of it in this room.
Oh shit, that's funny.
Des hesitates only a moment before nodding. I feel it. Hot. Like a fire waiting to explode. Now this is a part that I really enjoy because, you know, we see the Force used in both the light and the dark, sometimes in between light and evil. But what we never really get to understand is exactly how it feels. And one thing I really appreciate about this excerpt here is that you get to see, or actually you get to kind of feel, how the Force, or the dark side, feels for someone who has a lot of it. I feel it hot, like a fire waiting to explode. It's like this pent-up aggression and emotion that's waiting to just ignite, be ignited, and blow up at whatever is around them or whatever it's directed to. And I think the Sith had a major problem with the ability to maybe control their anger. Because if they did, they'd be more like a sniper shot versus just a shotgun. Both equally powerful maybe, but one is more directed, whereas the other one has no direction. And I think this really separates the differences between regular Sith and those who are more powerful, like Sidious, for example. The power of the dark side, the heat of passion and emotion, I can feel it in you as well. Burning beneath the surface, burning like your anger,
shit.
It makes you strong. Kopex closed his eyes and...
Oh, it's furniture, electronics,
I hate fucking commercials so much.
Tilted his head back, as if basking in the heat. The tips of his head tails twitched ever so slightly. The only sound was the faint crackle of flame from the torches. A bead of sweat rolled down the crown of Dess's bare scalp and along the back of his neck. He puffed it away, though he did shift his feet uncomfortably as it trickled its way between his shoulder blades. The slight movement seemed to snap the Twi'lek out of his trance. He didn't speak again for several seconds, but he studied Des intently with his piercing gaze. You have touched the Force in the past, but your abilities are an insignificant speck beside the power of a true Sith Master, he finally said. There is great potential.
Possibly, yeah.
Stay here in Korriban. We can teach you to unleash it. Des was speechless. You would no longer be a trooper on the front lines, Kopex continued. Do you accept my offer? That part of your life is over. You will be trained in the ways of the dark side. You will become one of the Brotherhood of Darkness, and you will not return to the Gloom Walkers. Des felt his heart pounding, his head swimming. As long as he could remember, he'd known he was special because of his unique talents. And now, he was being told that his abilities were not compared with what he could really accomplish. Still, part of him balked at the idea of leaving his unit without even having a chance to say goodbye. He considered Admiral, Lucia, and the others as more than just fellow soldiers. They were his friends. Could he really abandon them like this, even for the chance to join the Sith Masters? He recalled one of the last things Groshik had ever said to him: don't count on others for help. In the end, each of us is in this alone. The survivors are those who know how to look out for themselves. Everything he'd had, he'd given to his unit. He'd saved their lives too many times to count, and in the end, when the enforcers had come to take him away, they'd been powerless to save him. They
Oh, I know.
if he'd let them, but
And he's good at it.
Des realized the truth. His unit, his friends, could do nothing for him now. He could rely only on himself. Like always, he'd be a fool to turn this opportunity down. I am honored, Master Kopex, and I gratefully accept your offer. The way of the Sith is not for the weak, the big Twi'lek warned. Those who falter will be left behind. There was something ominous in his tone. I won't be left behind, Des replied, unfazed. That remains to be seen, Kopex noted. Then he added, this is a new beginning for you, Des, a new life. Many of the students who come here take a new name for themselves. They leave their old life behind. Des had no desire to hang on to any parts of his old life. An abusive father, the brutality of working the mines on Apatros. He had been seeking a new life for as long as he could remember. The Gloomwalkers had offered an escape, but it had been a temporary one. Now he had a chance to leave his past behind forever. All he had to do was embrace the Brotherhood of Darkness and its teachings. And yet, for reasons
Oh, you are?
he couldn't explain, he felt the cold grip of fear closing in on him. The fear made him hesitate. Do you wish to choose a new name for yourself, Des? Kopex asked, possibly sensing his reluctance. Do you wish to be reborn? Des nodded. Kopex smiled once more. And by what name shall we call you now? The fear would not stop him. He would seize the fear, transform it, and make it his own. He would take what had once made him weak and use it to make himself strong. My name is Bane. Bane of the Sith. And here we go. That's how the first Lord of the Order of Two became a Sith. Very different from the violent and desperate method that turned the last member of their order, Darth Vader. What Kopecz and the rest of the Brotherhood don't realize is that it's not the Jedi that will destroy them, but their newest recruit, Bane. Though at this point, Bane doesn't even realize that. Now, one thing with the Sith at this time period is that there were so many of them, and they would all kind of just have a civil war between each other. Many of them would kill each other for no real reason, and this is something that Bane saw, and he thought he could do better.
You know,
but
I
Bane
wanted to be
chose
left
to leave
alone.
this life behind, just like Neo did. Unlike Neo, though, what he left behind would probably have been the only life that would ever have given Bane happiness. He was abused in the mines. The Sith will make him a monster, but his unit, the Gloomwalkers, will be the only moment in Bane's life that he will ever have a family and camaraderie. There is a timeline out there where he went back
Hello there.
instead of going to Korriban, where he took the blue pill. In that world, I see him having a successful military career and retire to a nice planet to raise a family and enjoy life with his friends. Or maybe he would have just died in some battlefield somewhere. There is that possibility too. But he would have died a man surrounded by comrades, not minions. That's a fan fiction for a different time, and it's also something that Anakin hypothesizes for himself, or theorizes for himself, I should say, in a video that I've done in the past, where he thinks, what if Qui-Gon never found him? And in that little fan fiction, if you don't remember the video, if you haven't seen it, Anakin realizes that he would have become an amazing pilot, the best pilot in the galaxy, and he would have made millions and billions of credits and become extremely rich with his aptitude for flying and racing. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want me to cover more stuff from Legends and from the Bane trilogy. They're really interesting books. And it's refreshing to get some kind of different characters. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Top 10 video. Now, one of the most enigmatic characters in Star Wars, hero and villain alike, is Revan. He was one of the most powerful and influential beings in galactic history, and a true champion of both the light and dark sides of the Force. Let's start off with number 1. The military genius, a master tactician. Revan was the supreme commander of Jedi and Republic forces in the Mandalorian Wars, and often surprised his enemies with his unorthodox and effective maneuvers and strategies. The Mandalorian warrior clans, whose conquest and enslavement of the galaxy was halted by Revan's entrance into the war, lost many of their forces to Revan, but still held their greatest enemy in high regards because of what a fierce warrior he was, and due to his incredible talent for warfare. But as ruthless as the Mandalorians could get, which is pretty ruthless, even they could not have prepared for how far Revan could go. The Jedi leader in the final battle of the war activated an ancient device called the Shadow Generator on Malachor 5, and sacrificed an immense number of not just Mandalorians, but Revan's own troops as well, annihilating his enemies for good with the super weapon. However, at the same time, it also corrupted all the Jedi under his command, except for one of his generals, Mitra Surik, who managed to cut herself off from the Force temporarily to avoid falling to the dark side. Number 2. HK-47. Shortly after the end of the Mandalorian War, the now self-proclaimed Darth Revan constructed a hunter-killer assassin droid named HK-47. The aggressive droid was originally used to carry out assassination missions for the Dark Lord, much to Revan's amusement. The killer droid referred to organic beings as meat bags, but like his